One of the most underrated yet significant changes of the Cardinals offseason needs to be talked about. Plus, Masyn Winn's 2026 season, why it could look better than last year, as well as some injury updates that are rolling out of spring, which include the fact that the Lars Nootbaar plan has landed in Jupiter, Florida. Thanks for tuning in to the St. Louis Cardinals Daily podcast. My name is Andrew Toysher, and I'll get out in front of it. I apologize for the sound quality of this video. Technology isn't wanting to play nicely, but I'm still here to provide updates with you guys. I'll get that fixed as soon as I can. But first, the Cardinals offseason has involved a lot of changes. A lot of guys leaving, a lot of reasons why the Cardinals will be worse going forward. But we know it's a rebuild. We know lots of things have changed. But one change that's already occurred that should help the Cardinals be better this year, maybe not better enough to make the playoffs, but still better than what we've had in years past, is that the Cardinals coaching staff has expanded significantly this offseason under the direction of Chaim Bloom. One of the things we knew Chaim Bloom wanted to do whenever he got here was modernize our front office and our coaching staff, which he's been able to do with the help of some fancy new equipment that partially comes from the DeWitts and partially is coming from MLB standardizing their sabermetrics and motion captioning technology that now everybody has. They made everyone go on the same playing field, but that's not where it ends for the Cardinals. The Cardinals have expanded their coaching staff from 39 coaches just a couple years ago to 77. And I heard that stat off of KMOX radio here in the St. Louis area. 39 to 77. That's almost doubling our coaching staff. And why that's such a big deal is it allows each and every player to have an individual approach catered to them instead of just teaching them, as we all like to say, the Cardinal way. So what's been allowed here, and what I heard Kevin Wheeler and Matt Pauley talking about on KMOX radio, which sounds incredible, is that because of the amount of coaches they now have, not only is it allowing for more eyes on each guys during drills, you're able to run more individual drills just because you physically have more guys, but before you even begin doing any drills, each player can have a coach go and watch their film from last year or throughout practice as they're recording things and recording certain motions and analyze that individual player to see how they're moving, to see how their swing moves, to see how that first step is, to see their throwing motion. Each player is now getting looked at significantly more, arguably twice as much, because we have twice as much staff on the Cardinals roster than we did last year. This is going to be huge for the Cardinals' development. We constantly talk about how there's these players that they get into spring camp and they break for the majors, like Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, who had incredible success in the minors, but when they get to the majors, just something's lacking. They're not developing like they're supposed to. Not like other teams are helping their players develop. Well, the Cardinals were behind the eight ball on a lot of things, and one thing that was just pointed out here is one of those is having enough bodies, which seems like the bare minimum. And clearly, because the DeWitts were able to hire these people immediately, it's not like the Cardinals just couldn't afford to hire more staff. They just didn't want to. It wasn't something they realized that they needed until they brought in a guy like Chaim Bloom, who I'm not saying is way smarter than John Mozeliak. And John Mozeliak never would have considered, but it never came to John's head probably because he'd been in the Cardinals organization forever. And Chaim Bloom's a guy who was with the Rays and with Boston, who are teams that have been kind of running the forefront of technological and advancements and winning on the lines there, and that's exactly what the Cardinals have to do as a mid-market team. And this is going to be something that helps incredibly. You don't have to blow millions and millions and millions on expensive equipment. Having guys there is going to make such a big change, and I'm so excited for that going forward. You guys let me know, am I overplaying this, or is this going to be a bigger deal than people ever think? I'm excited for it. Moving on to the next topic here is that Masyn Winn is one of those guys who's hoping to make some big changes going into next year to have a better season. Masyn Winn didn't have a terrible season last year because he did end up with a gold glove, but his hitting was certainly down, and there's a number of reasons potentially why. Masyn Winn specifically talked about his hitting approach being potentially held back by his meniscus tear. He didn't throw it completely as the reason why. He didn't want to, I think, seem like a complainer. Honestly, with respect to how he said it, yeah, it affected me a little bit. Dude played the entire season last year on a torn meniscus. I would be crying having to walk up my stairs with a torn meniscus. He tried to play Major League Baseball on a torn meniscus. I'm willing to assign more blame to the meniscus, but clearly there was more to work on as well with his swing. Anyone who saw his swing, including the Cardinals coaching staff, would tell you there were some holes in it, even regardless of the meniscus tear. This was quoted from him in a David Hochman article on the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. He said, like, man, there's times where I get into a month or two of just trying to do one thing rather than using my whole game. His approach in general is shifting, and not just because of the injury. Obviously, the injury will make that more difficult, but you could kind of see it in the box at times. I'm certainly no coach. I'm not the smartest guy. I do not know the most ball in the world. I think I know ball, but I am not ready to be a coach for the St. Louis Cardinals. Anyone in the comment sections who think they are, I'm sorry, you're not. But you could see Masyn Winn at times was swinging for the fences, and at other times he was just swinging for contact. And that quote mentions that that's exactly what he was doing. Is he mentally was saying, all right, I'm just going to try to hit the ball here. Or, okay, I need to hit for more power. Instead of having a balanced approach where he gets to use the entirety of his bag, because he's shown a little bit of pop. He'll never be a 30 home run guy, but he's clearly a guy who can hit a ton of doubles with his speed and enough pop off his bat. And he's also a decent contact hitter. I mean, as a rookie, he hit 267. That's a decent contact hitter already, at least compared to the rest of Major League Baseball and the Cardinals in general. And he's an incredible athletic guy with great hand-eye coordination, as you can see in the field. Why hasn't that been all put together? Well, they're hoping that this approach, and as he gains more experience, things will change. Some of the changes that the Cardinals hitting coach Brandt has talked about specifically was, quote, his swing now is actually more athletic, like the way he moves, Brown said. So we should see speed and adjustability come out of that naturally. So instead of just having one swing, they've made his swing more athletic and adjustable to whatever he's going to see, so that he doesn't just have to say, I'm swinging for home runs here and I'm swinging for contact there, which led to some statistical downfalls in his season last year. In 2024, he slashed 267, a 314 on base, and a 416 slug. In 2025, the average wasn't down a ton, and neither was the on base, 253 and 310 respectively. But his slug fell all the way to 363, and his strikeout rate went up. His strikeout rate didn't go up a ton, but what that isn't saying is that, oh, well, he's just deciding to make more contact regularly and hit the ball softer on purpose. Well, it's not helping with the strikeout rate. Clearly, he's not just only swinging harder and he's trying to swing out of his shoes or swinging less out of his shoes. That's not. He was just a bad hitter last year. The approach overall was bad, and hopefully this will help him swing more athletically, which he clearly has a ton of athleticism. I'm excited to see him do it. And again, you can see his slugging drop last year reflected in his ISO. His ISO in 2024 was 148, and his ISO in 2025 was 110. ISO is your batting average, is your slugging percentage minus your batting average. So just how much are you slugging? Because obviously batting average plays into slugging, so you try to isolate ISO it out. So I'm excited for Masyn Winn next year. If he can just be a 700 OPS guy, a league average hitter with the kind of glove that he brings, he could be an instant all-star. I guess shortstop really deep this year, but that sort of level of player for the Cardinals, instead of just a guy who has a great glove, which I'm hoping he can grow more into. Something like, I don't want to compare him to Ozzie Smith. However, he has already won a gold glove, and if Ozzie wasn't a guy who was immediately an incredible hitter, I'm hoping even working with Ozzie Smith, he could help develop into something a little bit more. Next, let's talk about some injury updates coming out of camp. Some major ones to some pitching, and as well as one of our favorite hitters. Firstly, Brandon Clark was one of the guys we acquired in the Sonny Gray trade to Boston. Turns out he has an aneurysm in his arm. You don't hear that one a whole bunch. Typically, that's one thing you find in your brain, but certainly very scary anytime you're dealing with a cardiovascular system. Not something I'm wanting to play with, and that's what the Cardinals are going to do. They're going to hold him out till June. Clark wasn't expected to make many contributions this year. There was an off chance if he dominated, he could have been in September, but this will probably squash any of that. And we'll just look for Brandon Clark to pop up in spring training next year for the Cardinals. So Brandon Clark, we hope you recover. He's our 8th-ranked prospect. It'll be a guy we'll have to watch next offseason. In addition to that, Hunter Dobbins is coming back from his ACL tear pretty well. He's traveling Wednesday, or did travel on Wednesday, to visit doctors in Wisconsin to get full clearance for spring activities. Hunter Dobbins is one of the guys we acquired from Boston in the Contreras trade, and he's not a prospect. This is a player, a young player. He was a rookie last year, who was ready to come in and contribute this year if he can get cleared of this ACL injury. My guess is he still starts at AAA unless for some reason he comes out and shoves, which I just don't think is likely. I just don't think he's that guy. And then secondly, he's going to be held back with his ACL. So a 4.13 ERA in his rookie year in 2025. We're hoping he can improve on that once he's come back healthy, where he'll probably start in AAA and work his way in once he's fully healthy and back to whomst he was. So hope for the Cardinals to get some more rotation depth there. Next, Cooper Jerpy. I talked about this previously, but I want to make sure I was covering all these injuries that popped up. He's coming off of Tommy John, and he's aiming to throw a bullpen session next week. So the Cardinals' pitching depth is really starting to come alive, and hearing good news out of it, other than Clark, obviously. And the next player who finally arrived at Cardinals camp is Lars Nootbaar. The Nootbaar rocket has landed in Jupiter, Florida, and we're excited to have him there. Now, he's not fully back yet. He's still recovering and going through rehab for his double heel surgery that he's coming off of, but the Cardinals are glad to have him back. Derek Gould said that he's dealt with chronic pain for the last 2 years with these heel injuries. It's not just been something that popped up last year. He's just been kind of dealing with it. It's been slowly grating away at him. And the year last year that was rough for everybody, it really weared on Nootbaar, who had a 686 OPS last year, which is down from his previous career low, which was 739. So we know he's an above average hitter, and last year he certainly was far from that. The 28-year-old had surgery in October on both of his heels for something called a Haglund's deformity in your heels. This is not a typical baseball injury, so we don't actually know Nootbaar's timetable. It's not like I don't know. Nobody knows Lars Nootbaar's timetable to return because it's such a rare baseball injury. They don't know how it's going to impact him. So he's rehabbing at the Cardinals facility, and we'll know in the next 2 weeks when we'll expect Lars Nootbaar back. We could have him back, I think, as soon as early April. Maybe late March would be the smartest camp, so probably not that, but maybe April we can get him back, or it could be even longer than that. We've heard projections as far as May, but he won't be out the full season. Hopefully we'll get Nootbaar back, and there's a shot he gets traded. Regardless, we want to get him on the field. We want to have some sort of value from him. I'd be happy to have the Cardinals keep him. He has 2 years of control left, but we'll see. It's ultimately up to Chaim Bloom and the development of the rest of our outfielders too. Thomas Saggese is going to be your future MVP in center field. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks for tuning into the St. Louis Cardinals Daily Podcast. Tell me in the comment section what you guys think about all of that. The Lars Nootbaar injury comeback, the injury updates we just heard, Winn's development and growth, and these incredible influx of coaches that we now have. Subscribe, guys. We're excited to be covered. We're now well over the 900 subscriber marks. We're going to get to 1K before opening day, and I really thank you guys for that. Again, we'll fix the audio in the future, and don't forget to tell a loved one, go Birds.